What's good, everybody? Welcome inside the Green Room.
Chill.
I'm Harrison Sanford. That's Danny Green. You guys already know the vibes. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can listen to us on any podcast app that you use, preferably the Audacy app. And if you listen to us on an Audacy app, be sure to find us on YouTube. All of the subscriptions, all of the 5-star ratings, all the reviews. You guys know the drill. You know podcast business already. We appreciate your support. With that being said, grand opening, grand closing pretty much of free agency season. Pretty much all the deals have been done. There's still some big names out there, like a DeMar DeRozan. We're hearing that Larry Markkinen is a big trade chip on the block. We'll discuss that later on in the show. But first, we're just going to do simple winners and losers and reaction to those. Danny, can I go first with my first winner?
You sure can.
My first winner, Daryl Morey. Now, there's a reason why I said Daryl Morey and not the Philadelphia 76ers, and I'll explain it why in a moment. Obviously, the Philadelphia 76ers had upwards of $65 million to spend during free agency. Now, if he would have not been able to get Paul George, then I don't know what he would have done with that money. Might have been bad investments, in my opinion. And on top of that, the heat that he would have been under in the city of Philadelphia would have been something unbearable. And Danny, having played there, you know how it can get when things aren't going right. Now, with that being said, Daryl Morey, for the most part, has done his job. He got a championship head coach out there in Nick Nurse. He's got the big name free agent in Paul George. He was able to bring back Kelly Oubre. Now, if the Philadelphia 76ers don't win, I don't think you could point to Daryl Morey and say, hey, bro, you did not give this team a chance to succeed. They have the best big three in the NBA. Now, if Paul George gets unfortunately hurt or if Joel Embiid has another playoff injury, while, undoubtedly unfortunate, it wouldn't be Daryl Morey's fault. Daryl Morey, his job is to assume players are going to be healthy and hope that they're healthy when the time comes and that they're talented enough, if healthy, to win a championship. There's a championship roster in Philadelphia. I would have said the Sixers as a team, but again, I'm not sure if the team itself will be prepared for that moment in terms of health, which is just a cold, hard, opinion-based, fact-based opinion. There we go. Cold, hard, fact-based opinion. So Daryl Morey's a winner. 76ers, potentially.
I'm going to disagree. I can't call them winners. Yes, there is a championship roster in Philadelphia. I don't know if it's the Sixers. I mean, it's a good roster. I wouldn't say championship roster. And he did what he's supposed. He did his job. I mean, he pulled off a Hail Mary. He relieved himself of pressure. That to me is not a win.
Yes.
That's like you're winning what you're supposed to do. That's like number 1 seed beating an 8 seed in the playoffs. Just what you're supposed to do. He had the cap space. He had the money.
Yeah, you're right.
Come on,
right.
It's not like he pulled something out of a hat. He did what he had money to do. You know what I'm saying? He had space. For me, the winner in the East is my first winner. I'm gonna go with Cleveland, man. Bibble signed Donovan Mitchell back. I didn't think that was gonna happen. For them to get that done, I don't know who they keep, who they don't keep, but him coming back is a huge plus. Getting the coach that you want or the coach that he likes to keep him there is a huge win for the city of Cleveland. I'd say Philly did make some moves. It was great. I wouldn't call them winners, but I wouldn't call them losers. But they made some good moves, and I wouldn't say championship contention just yet. They did lose a lot of people. They did bring in some people. They lost Batum. They lost Melt. They lost Tobias, but they did replace it with PG. They got Eric Gordon. They lost some pieces though, and I'm still waiting to see how they feel.
Brought in Drummond.
Yeah, they brought in Drummond. That's a good. That's a win right there. That's a W. So that's a big one right there.
That's a W
because they needed a backup big, and the draft pick with the big was good too. But I'm still waiting to see how they felt the rest of the roster. They did lose some other guys, but they do have a really good roster. I just wouldn't call it a championship team just yet. But signing Tyrese finally did it. Congratulations to Tyrese Maxey. All the other guys that I know that signed big deals. Congratulations to Tobias Harris. Everybody that signed really good deals, man. It's exciting. Isaiah Joe, former Philadelphia guy, who was OKC now. But they finally paid Tyrese. They paid PG. They brought in Drum. They paid him a little bit more than what he had before first time around. They needed backup big. So they have a really good roster. About to lose Kyle Lowry. We don't know who else they get, for backup point guard wise, or, obviously they got Jared McCain. So good draft pick. So they got good draft picks for backups too, but we'll see how they develop and how they felt the rest of the roster.
Yeah, got to see who fills in at that 4 position. Got to see who also is going to be that backup point guard. Obviously, Kyle Lowry seems to be an option with his time that he spent there last year. So that's our first winners. You got the Cleveland Cavaliers with Donovan Mitchell. That makes sense. I would call the Cavs more of a winner than Donovan Mitchell. But at the same time, Donovan Mitchell's deal will take him to his 10th year in the league, which once you get the 10 years of service, then he can get the real big bread. And that'll be with the new CBA intact. So Cavs win for now. We'll see. Or yes, they win for now. We'll see how it goes long term. All right, my first loser is connected to my winner. The Los Angeles Clippers. Bruh,
Yes.
what are y'all doing? Why would you not give Paul George the 4th year? If you were willing to bring back Kawhi Leonard and James Harden, you might as well go all in. I mean, come on now. This does not make sense to me at all, Danny. I can
Especially with they traded away for him.
Yeah, all the investment that they put away for Paul George, and you're going into the new arena. You've decided to bring back Kawhi. You decided to give James Harden money. Why not just bring Paul George back? I don't know. Obviously, I'm not inside the discussions, Danny, but I at least would have said, all right, Paul, we're wavering on this 4th year. Can we do a partial guarantee? Can we do can we do something to make that 4th year a little bit more lenient on us? I just don't understand. Not just losing Paul George, Danny, but then you also lost him for nothing. Nothing came in return. That's wild to me.
Yeah, that I have them as probably my second loser in my bracket because they did ultimately make some moves to make up for that loss. They brought in Batum back. They picked up some pieces, some bench pieces. They brought in Derek Jones Jr., KPJ, gave him a second chance. They did bring James Harden back. So you do have 2 stars ultimately, and you brought in some pieces. They got Mo Bamba, they got another big, but they have bigs. So I'm still seeing how they fill out the rest of their roster as well. But the number one loser to me, man, is the Golden State Warriors. Like, you do nothing with the CP bread that you had to move for. Yeah,
30,
you didn't trade.
$30 million guaranteed.
You didn't get PG. You lost Clay. And you're filling it out with, they got Melt, and I'm trying to think who else might have signed. They're filling out Summer League roster, but they got nobody, really. They picked up nobody, and they lost Clay and didn't sign and trade CP. They didn't get Paul George. Them, to me, are the biggest loser of this free agency so far. Clippers, number 2 for me, because of, they losing PG for nothing, but they picked up some pieces. Waiting to see what Golden State does, but the fact that you have, and you turned down the PG trade, or the Clippers turned down the PG trade because they just want to send him there. But you waived Chris anyway. You lose him for nothing anyway. You didn't use that contract to get somebody. Makes it that much more of an L. And the fact that you lost Clay to another team that is a contender in Dallas. He's making more of his money there. That's just a complete L, man. And you still have Wiggins under contract. They had Levine. They had some type of offers. I don't know if I would have taken that one either. I'm not sure. Especially with the health of Lonzo and Levine, we don't know. But yeah, ultimately, that's a total L. And I think Chicago might be my third L, honestly. The fact that they're not able to move the contracts they have, they're not able to move contracts. But I still think if those guys are healthy, they get surprises. I want to see what they do with Zoe, a year of health, and then Zach. So he comes back. I think they'll come back with a chip on their shoulder. But ultimately, Chicago's losing this offseason, this free agency, and so is Golden State. Those two teams, 2 organizations are very much losing to me.
Yeah, and as it pertains to the Golden State Warriors, there are rumors that they're in for Larry Markkinen. I think that would be great, but as it currently stands, man, you're totally right. What an L for them to just give up on, for them not to turn that Chris Paul $30 million guarantee into something, not even some type of draft equity or something like that. Really has to be painful, especially when you consider they traded out Jordan Poole for him. Now, Jordan Poole does not play great basketball all the time, but we still know that he is talented. And I'm sorry,
score the ball.
I would take
He's young. Can score. Yes.
We'll work with that. We'll make something out of that, as opposed to making it a $30 million Chris Paul contract that eventually doesn't even lead to a playoff run or returned assets. A failed mission there. Obviously, a failed mission with James Wiseman. Obviously, he's been a couple of failed missions. This Andrew Wiggins contract does not look good now. It's a damn shame because you still have one of the best players in the world on that roster in Steph Curry. And I just don't know what they do to make it right. They're going to try and get Larry Markkinen, we're hearing, but I don't know if they have the assets, especially with Danny Ainge running shop over there in Salt Lake City, to really get him out of there. You got to come, Danny Ainge don't play that. So you have to come correct.
He better come correct.
You better come correct. And I don't think they can with the assets that they have. You mentioned the Chicago Bulls. I'll just comment on your other loser right there. I just don't get what they got going on in Chicago. The Caruso for Josh Giddey trade doesn't make any sense to me. Alex Caruso is a highly sought after trade commodity in this NBA. To do that deal, essentially a 1-for-1, when OKC has 923 draft picks over the next 5 years, not to even be able to pluck out 1 or 2 of those picks is crazy to me. And yes, they don't have 923 draft picks. I'm over exaggerating, but they got a lot of damn draft picks. How the hell did you not?
This is another reason why Chicago is losing to me. When you make that Josh Giddey, Alex Caruso trade, and you get no picks in return with that trade, Chicago, what are we doing here? And now you're about to lose DeMar, and you can't get off the other contracts. Unbelievable, man. You make trades with OKC, you better get some picks. Like, that's another reason why Chicago is a big L for me right now. So
yeah, totally understand that. Now, I would say they still might have a chance to get DeMar DeRozan back, and that's going to lead me in. That'll lead me into one of my losers, DeMar DeRozan. And Danny, you know how this goes. Sometimes it's not about how talented you are; it's when your talent is available on the open market. And as it currently stands, there are just not a lot of teams with cap space. If he wants to get typical DeMar DeRozan money, he would have to go to Brooklyn. He would have to go to Detroit. These are teams that are really not trying to spend that type of money for a guy like him because they're trying to be a bad team so they can get lottery picks in what's supposed to be a highly rated 2025 draft, a highly rated 2026 draft. So you can't go there. If he goes anywhere else, all these teams pretty much have the non-taxpayer mid-level exception or the mid-level exception. So that's not really good. I mean, if you're DeMar DeRozan, $12.1 million is not commensurate to your talent. Okay, so we don't do that. So how about a sign and trade? If you do a sign and trade, Danny, you are required to sign a 3-year deal. What happens in 3 years? DeMar DeRozan's 38. So essentially a 3-year deal, a sign and trade would be his last contract more than likely. It's just a bad spot to be in if you're DeMar DeRozan. And it says nothing about his talent. It's just the marketplace right now. It's a bad year to be a free agent. And unfortunately for DeMar DeRozan, that's the circumstance he's in.
Yeah. I gave you my losers. That is tough. I think he'll still ultimately find a place to land. I couldn't put him in my top 3 losers. I had Golden State, I had Clippers, then I had the Bulls. For winners, though, it is tough for DeMar, but I think he'll find a home and be good for hopefully 2-3 years.
He'll find a home. He'll get, and he could do a sign. He could do a sign and trade, Danny. But if he does a sign and trade, it's going to be a 3-year deal at a certain number. Because remember, a sign and trade means you also got to send money out, right? Yes. And at that point, obviously a team is not going to want to surrender all their assets to get DeMar DeRozan. So there's probably a certain number they can only get up to. And again, it has to be a 3-year deal. So when that deal is done, he is 38 years old. So this is essentially, if he wants to do a sign and trade, it's his last contract, or he could take the 1-year mid-level exception, play for $12 million, and come back next offseason and really try and cash out. It's a risk that he might have to take if he really wants to big dollar. You know it, Danny. It's just a bad year to be for a player of his caliber. Maybe free for agent, like a role player. Maybe a role player free agent can get cashed out. But we're talking like a perennial all-star caliber player. It's a bad year to be a free agent.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Ultimately, I think he probably lands back home in LA with the Lakers. Maybe Clippers will make up for that loss by getting him somehow over there with Kawhi and James. Has to be a sign and trade, but they have some. They could make some stuff work. But I'm gonna go back to my second winner. The first was the Cleveland Cavaliers. Second winner for me, Isaiah Hartenstein, man, and OKC Thunder. I'm gonna combine them together. For him to leave New York, get $90 million, he's getting more of his money, saving more of his money in Oklahoma, and be on a top team in the West with those guys, and be your main featured big because they needed rebounding, they needed passing, and to get more of your bread to save there. Big dub, big bank, good for him. Big dub, big bang, good for them. Good for Oklahoma City Thunder organization, man. They're making great moves. They had a huge pickup for them, and they signed their guys back: Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, and they got Alex Caruso now too. Come on, man. They're making some really good moves.
A+++ offseason for Oklahoma City Thunder. That is one of my winners too. Their biggest issue last year was rebounding. Now you get an elite rebounder who can also, Danny, diversify their offense, because last year it was a lot of dribble drive offense looking for mismatches and isolation. Now you get a 5 who can catch the ball top of the key, send passes off. If Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Jalen Williams gets double teamed, you drop it off to him. He's smart enough to process what decision he should make with the ball. Do I swing it? Do I hit the floater? He's a perfect fit for OKC, and it doesn't even jeopardize their money long term because when his contract is up, that's when they'll finally have to pay Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams. And OKC didn't give up any of their draft picks. And they got Alex Caruso, who shot 40% from three last year, who's now a floor spacer on top of playing defense when you had Josh Giddey out there last year killing all their spacing. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
That's an A++ offseason. They don't get no better than what OKC and Sam Presti pulled off, dog.
Yeah, they're doing some good stuff, man. So tough to argue that. But my third winner, I gave you my three losers. I gave you my two winners. My third winner, it was between two teams. And it was the Dallas Mavericks and the New York Knickerbockers. And I'm going to have to go with the New York Knickerbockers. Getting Mikal Bridges.
Come on over to the dark side. Come on over to the dark side.
Again, Mikal Bridges, I know people, it's only day 2 of free agency and people are kind of forgetting about it. That's a huge wave in the spectrum, man. That was a big pickup for them. And so Dallas getting Clay and getting who else did they get from New Orleans? They picked up with Derrick Jones Jr. They lost him, but they picked up Quentin Grimes, Tim Hardaway, Najee Marshall, and Quentin Grimes. So you got Clay, Quentin Grimes. You got shooting. You got Najee Marshall, some toughness defensively. They made some really good moves this offseason, but I'm still going to give it edge to the Knicks because of how deep they are. They did lose Hartenstein. Mitch Robinson has to get healthy. Hopefully they get another backup big. I'm giving the edge to New York because they're in the East, and I don't know if Dallas is going to be able to do reciprocate what they did this past year according to matchups and because of how tough the West is. But really good moves by both those teams. Huge wins, huge W's. They're both winners in my book, and that concludes my winners and losers, man.
Yeah. All right, listen, you already know how I feel about the New York Knicks. When it comes down to it, you need Mitchell Robinson more than Isaiah Hartenstein when it comes to guarding Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Point blank, period. And I love Isaiah Hartenstein. Congratulations to him. Get your money, big dog.
For sure. Better passing big to me. Better scoring big, better passing big. So this is a tough L. I hope y'all better find another big out there that can replace, not replace, but like a backup big because, Mitchell gets in foul trouble. Better find somebody to replace him.
Yeah. Now there are rumors that they're going to try and go out there. There's rumors that the Knicks are eyeing Walker Kessler, the big from Utah, and obviously with them drafting Kyle Filipowski, maybe he's more tradable. We'll see. Danny, yes, I cannot stress about the backup position. I still think the Knicks will address it, but I am also super interested, particularly if the Knicks end up playing a team like the Boston Celtics. I am super interested in seeing Julius Randle play small ball 5 minutes. If Julius Randle can play the small ball 5,
at the 5,
you got OG at the 4, Mikal Bridges at the 3, or Josh Hart at that one of those forward spots with Brunson and DiVincenzo. Now you're talking about an all switching lineup that could all shoot from the 3-point line. I'm optimistic that a small ball Julius 5 might be the remedy for certain matchups that I think the New York Knicks front office and frankly, Julius Randle should be excited about that because he could really add some. It could really add some value to his game. It won't require him to be what he had to be. Him being a stretch 5 really opens the game.
Yeah, he'll have way more space. He'll be able to operate the way he wants to, nobody in the paint. But I'm interested how they do that too. But yeah, they do need a backup, man, because you got foul trouble. Yeah. When certain matchups with Giannis and Joel particularly, you need a big that can use fouls. Julius can guard them, but you're going to have to double all over the place. Philly's got the scoring and shooting around them now to be able to make them pay for it with PG, Tyrese, Eric Gordon. Kelly signed back, pretty good deal. So, it's going to be a tougher East if everybody stays healthy. I'm still waiting to see what Indiana does. And Milwaukee. Those are the teams that we're looking to see what the hell they do. So
my final winner, this one's an easy one. Jayson Tatum. Highest paid player in the league now. And because they won a championship, because he has put so much good work on tape, who cares about the damn CBA? Who cares about who cares about the second apron? You better pay him. And that's exactly what the Boston Celtics not only did, they had to pay him. What a position to be in if you're Jayson Tatum. As we saw this past offseason, we've seen the Golden State Warriors basically tell their legendary franchise star who they're going to retire his jersey. They announced it in the press release. They're going to retire his jersey, and they decided not to pay him. The Los Angeles Clippers had one of the best players in the league, and Paul George, on their roster. But because of the new CBA, at least according to them, they decided not to bring him back. Jayson Tatum played at such a high level for so long and he won a championship. So didn't matter about no second apron. Didn't matter about no CBA. Give us the chip. Give me my money. And that's exactly what the Boston Celtics, they had no choice. They had no choice.
They for sure had to.
He's a big-time winner.
They not only paid him, they paid everybody. Sam Hauser, Derek White, another big man coming back. They spent a lot of money this offseason keeping everybody together, and for good reason. You win a championship, you keep it together, you don't break it up. Some other organizations, some other teams could take note and learn something from this. But we'll see how they do next year, and it'll be fun and interesting to see if they can repeat or not, and who goes back to back.
But that's also why Rick Grossbeck and the ownership group of the Boston Celtics have now said that they are going to sell the team. That luxury tax bill is, I think, over $100 million more than any other luxury tax bill in the NBA that will happen in 2 seasons from now. Hey, winning championships in this NBA is expensive, and it's going to become expensive. So that's part of the reason probably why they are selling the team.
I got one.
Best.
I'm out.
Go ahead.
You got a championship. Said I'm out. That's it. I'm out.
Cash me.
Cool.
Yeah, cash me out now because it's about to be expensive to run that
this
team.
This bill is not for
reasons.
me.
Yeah. Hey, this what many people forget, and this is why it's tough being an NBA fan. For the owners might be a fan of your team too, but these people are businessmen. They didn't get their riches by running businesses in the negative
and spending a bunch of money every year.
They've gotten their level of financial success because they've been running good business and making profits.
Stay in the black.
I can understand. Yeah, exactly. So Boston Celtics going for sale. Look at their payroll. Makes about sense to me. And with that said, it's time to get up out of here. We'll be back next week with more Inside the Green Room. Maybe by that time, DeMar DeRozan will have a team. Maybe Larry Markkinen will be traded. And it's the NBA. Who knows what might be taking place over the next week or so. So, guys, stay tuned. And when we come back next week, I guess Bronny would have played his first Summer League game. And then, again, more free agency and trades are probably going down. So we'll be here to recap it. See you next time. Peace, y'all.
Read, rate, subscribe, review.